think people are going to be moving to going forward, given what the current trends have been?
I really do feel that the time is also ticking. Even the most of affordable places, they're going to be swept up. Cheap property, amazing cheap property taxes, great laws, great, like it's one of the, if you wanted affordability and complete and utter freedom.
With the example of Idaho.
Some of the states that are kind of in the shadows are the ones that are going to be the next one to come up, like places like.
Just remember, some of the best places to have freedom in the United States, they're not the most exciting places, trendy, or most talked about. Going to be doing something there that's already normal for that culture, for that area, versus just being like the weird one in the area.
You should be acting sooner rather than later.
Prices just keep going up?
Just keep going up. So you don't know how long that's going to keep going, and you don't want to wait 10 years to try to hit the bottom of the market, and then you just wasted 10 years out of your life. There's no perfect place, there's no perfect time, and you just have to sometimes just execute. All right, welcome friends to a new episode of the New Exodus podcast. Last week, we've got some interesting stuff this week, because last week we talked about the things to avoid when looking for a place of freedom and a homestead and just overall general freedom. And this week we've got just a little bit more, obviously the opposite of that, which would be the things that you want to look for freedom. So the best places, the best laws, the best rules, regulations, zoning, locations, that type of thing. Well, I've already said laws basically, but that being said, so yeah, where do we start off with this show?
Yeah, so if you didn't watch last week's episode, definitely check that out. We'll put the link down below, but it's again, basically the places that you want to avoid in the United States if you really do value freedom.
Yeah.
And freedom, we did define that in the last episode, and it could mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But there are some core values. So it's a very important episode. Definitely check that out. It'll give context for this episode. So yeah, basically, where in America is it still easiest to live quietly, affordably, and independently without being constantly regulated, taxed, or watched?
That's a great question.
So that is what we're going to be talking about today. And again, practical freedom, what does that mean for us, basically?
Yeah. So practical freedom is similar to what we said last episode, which would be, the things that you do on an everyday basis. So meaning, how do you run your homestead? What do you do on your land on a daily basis? What freedoms do you have on there that you are not going to get the government or the county or anybody else to come and to dictate basically what you are doing on a daily basis on your land? Or, just overall, even how you govern within the state. Where can you go if you have a gun in your truck, or, those type of things. So
yeah, basically, definitely all that.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to, everything that we talked about in the last episode, we're going to now discuss the things that you want to look for.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so we're going to get right ahead into it. In the last episode, we were talking about states that have a lot of zoning and a lot of issues with permits and regulation. And now we want to talk about places that have light zoning and a lot more freedom with land use, because what's the point of having land and you can't even do what you really want on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what are some of your, I guess even just to talk about some states, what are some states that are really good in terms of light zoning and things like that?
Yeah. I think from, I've looked at property and land pretty much, well, not in every state, but very, like quite a bit of states. I would say very few that I haven't really looked at, because there's just a general lack of interest and not of importance. But so from what I've seen, places like, and we know some people as well that are in those locations. So, and we just hear great feedback. So I would say places like Tennessee, as we hunkered down for whatever reason on Texas last week. Definitely Texas. There's nothing wrong with Texas whatsoever. We're in a Texas hat right now, actually. And so, so Tennessee, Texas, pretty much all the South and the Midwest for the most part. I got to be honest. I'm not saying that there's not one state that has a little bit better than others or whatever the case may be, but from Texas all the way east to Florida, I mean, Alabama, Mississippi, I guess Florida, depending where you are. I would say more northern Florida if you're going to hit that state.
Yeah, Florida's very particular.
Yeah, if you're going too far south,
it's like two different states over there.
It's bottleneck over there, and then it gets a little bit more hard if you wanted to. Yeah, not necessarily because of the rules, just the strategic relocation part of it. But yeah, and Georgia, the Carolinas, so all the South and the Midwest, obviously, Oklahoma, or it's not the South, sorry, the Midwest. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, those are the main core that are right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could argue that, I would guess you could probably say, I don't know enough about them actually. It would be right directly there in the prairies. That would be Nebraska and
yeah, we don't look in those states too often.
No, because they have the same general climate as western Oklahoma and western Texas. It's all that line that goes north to south. But for whatever reason, those states, I mean, talking about Texas and Oklahoma are more popular than, say, Nebraska or what's the other one? Nebraska and...
South Dakota, North Dakota?
No, that's further north. Nebraska and... I'm drawing a blank. I have to see the map. I'm so visual. Anyway, there's 2 states right there, and I'm just drawing a blank right now. But either way, but yeah, that would be the general consensus. And of course, everybody...
I was going to say, you have to mention the head honcho one, the King Kong of them all,
right,
that everybody just raves
right
about.
Right now, in the past couple of years, that everybody's been flocking to, Idaho.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody else talks about Idaho. It's a beautiful place. We just went there not too long ago, and absolutely stunning country, absolutely beautiful country, mountains and freshest water you can imagine. Really hardy folks over there, and can really appreciate the lifestyle.
Yeah, and especially in North Idaho, it's very...
Yes, more or less, because Southern Idaho, it's not that Southern Idaho has different laws or whatever have you, and I'm sure maybe county per county, I don't know enough about Idaho, but it's just the fact that more people are attracted to Northern Idaho because of the natural resources.
Yeah.
The trees, the water, the mountains.
And less
Southern
zoning.
Idaho. Yeah, Southern Idaho is just a little bit more dry, so it's less appealing just overall.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So definitely those states. Also, states with low property taxes are very favorable.
Yeah.
Okay, so Texas, we love you, but you're just generally not going to fit into this bracket. But, you know, states like, again, you're going to hear a lot of the same states on here.
Yeah.
But Tennessee, Arkansas, West Virginia, Alabama.
That's another one. We forget about West Virginia. It's another good one. Kentucky. Why did I not think about
Kentucky. Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Missouri. Mississippi, Wyoming. That's another new favorite of ours. We really like Wyoming.
It's very unique.
Yeah.
The people in the cities are extremely nice, and the cities are exceptionally clean.
Yeah, everything we saw, and people treated us so well there, and we just really like Wyoming, and you know, low population density and everything like that.
Yeah.
But you know, when you have, we were talking about this before, but when you have places with low property taxes, you know, you can have more long-term stability because you don't have to worry about, you know, having this much extra money every single year because the state is always jumping up your property taxes, and it's a big deal for a lot of people, and it's a big deal for us too. That was a main reason why we didn't stick around in Texas. One of the main reasons.
Well, a lot of times too, why the property taxes are going up is because there's so much influx of people coming in. So if there's half of California that are flocking to Texas because they want a little bit more freedom, but the same type of kind of climate, that's been a trend for the past probably 5-10 years. That's going to raise a lot of prices overall, and there's just more people overall that are, even though Texas is very large, it just floods the cities, and everything starts to go up. Property values go up. Per the tax rate, assessments go up, and then therefore property taxes go up. So it's a cause and effect of when there's an influx of people. Things that are more slow and more like a Wyoming, for example, is probably pretty stable, or, you know, maybe a Kentucky or a West Virginia that's a little bit overall less attractive to the majority, and for the minority that do see the potential in those states, they can flock to it and be like, this is golden.
Oh yeah.
But to the general populace,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people that are freedom minded, they want to live somewhere that if they want to be off grid, they can.
Yes.
You know, just less regulation. They want to embrace more of a self-sufficient lifestyle.
Yeah.
So these states that we've been bringing up, you know, they're key with
Yeah.
that. Some things that are really important are, and a few that I can think about is being able to drill a well, having water rights.
Yep.
Being able to harvest rainwater if you want. What are some
Yes.
other things that you would say are
Yeah.
that make a place friendly to off-grid
Yeah.
or be self-sufficient?
Yeah, I think it's just generally, like you were saying, and I hunkered down a lot on that on the other video, but just this overall zoning. Zoning has everything that has to do with land use on that property. So if you're able to create a pond, have 5 cabins or whatever the case is, not everybody's going to do that, but I'm just saying you can hunt on your own land, you can fish on your own land, you can fish in your own pond. All those things create freedom, and it's a great place to be able to be self-reliant because I can harvest my own food, I can butcher my own meat, I can do all the things that I need to do to survive for myself and my family. So these are all the things that are very, very attractive to somebody that wants to definitely be just self-reliant. Off-grid's a word. Not everybody wants to go off-grid, but those are the core factors. And I would definitely say, again, once again, the zoning. But and then just also one thing that we didn't really touch on is just the overall, I guess, culture of these places. These cultures like that have, like Texas has a culture, right? That's been there for a while. Texas loves their guns. They love their cattle. They love, they've got a culture that's that Tex-Mex kind of blended feel of it. And so a lot of these places have just so many decades of history of a built-in culture that when you do go there, and if you bring your whatever Oregon attitude in Texas, depending where you're coming from, if you're coming from downtown Portland, or a big city, or just you're used to those politics in Washington or those type of things, you may be into a little bit of a culture shock because they're kind of set in their ways and they don't want it to change, and rightfully so.
And that's how it is everywhere, because you could take somebody from Texas and go into Oregon and
100%.
they may say, well, we don't live like that here, so
Somebody
go back to Texas,
right.
So everywhere has its own culture. And so.
Yeah, I'm just saying, yes, exactly. So just being on the cultural side of things is just a lot of these states are already established basically how they operate, and they want to kind of keep it that way. So the culture is already kind of built in. So they do, a place like Tennessee or Texas or Oklahoma, they do like their guns. And you're probably not going to change that. And a place like Washington or California, well, I'm not saying they hate guns. That's a big statement, but there's restrictions, a lot more restrictions on what you can or cannot do.
Yeah.
So things to kind of ponder about.
Yeah, definitely. And if going off grid, being more self-sufficient is something that's on your mind, going to places that are more proponents of that is going to be better for you, because it's like you're going to be doing something there that's already normal for that culture, for that area, versus just being like the weird one in the area.
Yeah.
You're the weirdo that wants to go off grid, or the weirdo that has some goats in the front yard, or just, So just going where that particular culture is normal.
Yeah.
Not suspicious.
Another one that I would add in there that I don't think we talked about at all, and now we're talking about desirability, right? To go where places that you're not trying to avoid, but you're actually trying to go to. I would say just overall, your outdoor quality of life. I was saying on the other video about the climate that it shouldn't be a top priority, but you also do want to go in a place that if your family is very big in the outdoors and you like mountains, you should consider potentially a place that has a lot of outdoor activities, stuff for the kids, lakes, mountains to go, hiking and horseback riding or whatever it is that fits your flavor, that has those things that you can actually enjoy a quality of life while still, kind of living on the land. So something that kind of fits your lifestyle, because between all these states we just mentioned, from Texas, Western Texas is massively different than Georgia, and Alabama is very different than Idaho. So there's all a bunch of different natural resources. There's different topographies and landscapes that can kind of fit the person's needs. And again, given the affordability, as long as you're not putting that desire above your affordability. But it's definitely something, if there's 3 states that definitely fit your affordability factor, that you can afford to be there and you're very satisfied with what you're seeing as far as what we can purchase, then I would look at that and go a step deeper, saying, well, which ones actually fit that would be a better fit for my family? Meaning, what do we do? What do we like to do?
Yeah.
Is there people there that we know? You know, activities that we like. Is there a lot of water? If we like water sports, is there a lot of lakes? Is there a beach? Is it a state that's on the coast, or is it center of the? You know, if you really like the ocean, and that's a big part of you, and you were raised with it. Well, maybe Missouri might be a little bit tough for you and your family. Not to say that there's not beautiful lakes and it can't be an adjustment, but you may say, okay, well, there's a conservative state. There's a bunch of conservative states on the East Coast that
go
could
to
be
Alabama.
Correct. That could be a better fit. And then you can go to Orange Beach and beautiful places.
Yeah, we love South Alabama. Actually,
Yeah,
it's
very, very
really
beautiful.
nice over there.
Absolutely, very much so.
Yeah.
I've been there many times.
Yeah, and then the next point I want to bring up is again a low cost of living area. So, with the example of Idaho. Idaho is such a hot topic. Idaho is an amazing state. It's beautiful, highly coveted. You know,
rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yes,
My
and
goodness.
we took a trip there not long ago, and it's a beautiful place. And Eastern Washington too is very beautiful. And you know, we could do a whole episode on those two states, but it's so expensive. To go there, and it's not that you can't go, but
if it's gonna stretch your budget, it's coming to the point that, you know, when an acre of land is starting to cost, you know, nowadays it's normalized, but when an acre of land is starting to cost above $10,000 an acre, and you're heading into the 12s, 15, you know, and you're buying not just one, you're buying multiple acreage, and the more you buy, the better usually price or discount that you get, it starts to get a little bit tight, meaning you could, the same type of lifestyle that you could live in Idaho, perhaps, not lifestyle, sorry, let me correct that. The same cost and what you can buy as far as property in Idaho, say on 2 acres, you might be able to get 12 in Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
And a lot of properties in Idaho, that's the price for the land. There won't be a structure on it.
Well, depending. I'm saying if it's 2 acres in a property, that could potentially be the same. Knowing the prices that I know, a 2-acre property with a livable or somewhat modest home in Idaho could be the exact same price of the same kind of caliber of home with 12 acres in the Midwest. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Not necessarily land for land, but I'm just saying property for property. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do what you want to do on those 2 acres in Idaho, because Idaho has amazing laws. So that 2 acres can go a long way, and you can live an excellent quality of life. But if you still want, let's say, a little bit more room to roam, or you want a little bit more elbow room between you and your neighbors, then
without paying $1 million,
correct,
you know,
because your budget's still your budget, right? You can't just, you know. So it might. If you're considering that, like, you know, because we've been through a lot of that, saying, okay, well, I can afford such in, say, Idaho if I want to go there, versus, well, how much more does my money go further in, say, a place like Oklahoma or whatever in the Midwest? So those are the things to consider, is saying, okay, well, if I ever wanted to raise cattle, that might be a little bit difficult on 2 acres in Idaho, right? It doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's vastly different trying to raise certain animals, and and you always want distance from your animals, right? A lot of people will have you know, their home, and then there's a pasture, there's an area set aside for your animals. But if you just have your home, and then it's your animals kind of right around your home, and then your gardens amongst your animals, because there's not enough room to be able to do everything that you want to do, depending how much you want to scale, then that could become a factor, right? But if somebody just wants to say, hey, I've got friends, I got family in Idaho, I grew up in Idaho, I love Idaho, so let's go there, I can suffice with 2 acres, all I'm looking to have is a couple of chickens, and you know, I got all the support I need, I know tons of butchers, and so I'm not really going to go further than that, and I can live an excellent quality of life, and I can afford it. Then it you know, it could suit your needs.
But that's not a lot of people in today's price point.
No.
You know, because Idaho is getting so expensive that the locals can't afford to be there anymore. And when you are in a place that the locals are being priced out, and they've lived there their entire life, and these are little towns in Idaho too, like North Idaho, little towns that you would not think that anybody would be priced out of living there.
Right.
But because Idaho now is just like, oh, Idaho. Now these people, you know, some of the things that we saw when we were there, it baffles me. I mean, you have like, I know this is a tangent, but like Coeur d'Alene, one of the most coveted lakes here in the United States. And then right outside of that, there's people that are living in poverty right there.
Yeah.
You know, but it just, because it just kind of blew up,
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's really great when you can live in a place that, like, again, let's use Alabama for an example, that generally speaking, the people are not priced out of living in Alabama.
No.
You know what I mean?
No,
I think
definitely.
that it's the overall lower cost of living. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, Alabama actually stands on top of the top selection, to be honest with you. Alabama,
great state.
Alabama has cheap property, amazing cheap property taxes, great laws, great, like it's one of the, if you wanted affordability and complete and utter freedom, like Alabama scores really, really high. We've considered it very much, but you know, for us, we also value a lot, I guess the climate plays a role, but for us, a lot of sunshine is a big factor for our family, and doesn't mean that Alabama doesn't get any sun, but from what we've seen, we've spent some time there, and we know some other folks that are there, but there's certain areas more by the coast that it rains just a little bit more than what we feel comfortable with. So it's great if that's, you know, that fits your lifestyle. But
again, it depends where in Alabama. Because we're speaking specifically by
on
the coast.
On the coast.
Yeah,
the Gulf of Mexico comes and then just drops the rain just
and
there.
Then, but there's, you know.
Yeah, no, like Huntsville, I've been through Huntsville. It's a beautiful place that's just exploded.
Yeah,
and
there's so many different areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when we were looking, we were really focused on southern Alabama.
Yeah,
and
because we knew it quite well, and then there was the ocean and a few things. But so either way, but Alabama, as far as the state itself, ranks super high as far as just if you can either handle the climate, that's the desirabilities, or people there around there that you know. But yeah, it's an excellent state. Excellent state.
Okay, something else too that we didn't really consider much when we first started looking at different places to live, but it is very important as well. It's places that have a more of like a mind your business culture. Some places are kind of notorious for just kind of snitching on people for every little thing. We'll give you an example. We actually met a gentleman that has been living in Oregon for most of his life. It was Western Oregon or Eastern Oregon? Eastern, right? Or Western?
Well, define Oregon, not necessarily. It was It's Southern Oregon on the eastern side of the mountains.
Okay, I'm getting my states all just jumbled up. But
I help her with geography.
The point is, I'm not that bad. The point is that he had been living there for a long time. He had some acreage. He put a structure in his backyard, and one of his neighbors just kind of, reported it, and it started issues. And nevertheless, he's now here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But he was telling us all about that, and we were like, wow, that's too bad, And he was living in a part in Oregon where there are, more self-sufficient people and whatnot. So it just kind of goes to show you that it is important, depending on what you're wanting to do on your land, just kind of where you are.
Yeah, and again, I think that plays a lot with the culture of the state. If it's a more democratic state, it's, that's not fair, and therefore if he's doing it, well, why can't I, or vice versa, versus other conservative places, it's just like, listen, mind your own business, respect my property, I will respect yours, and how can we help each other out? Let's just love each other, and let's just work together, versus like trying to fight one another and who's better, and that's not fair that he can do this or that.
Especially if you're not putting anybody in harm or anything like that. If you wanted to.
Yeah, sometimes it's just foolish nonsense, but.
A lot of times, yeah. So, keep that in mind. There are certain states, California, where I'm from, growing up, there was a lot of stories about that. So just places where people value freedom, they're kind of doing their own thing. Don't tread on me. I'm not going to tread on you.
Yeah.
Don't infringe on my freedoms.
Yep.
That kind of a thing.
Yep.
And then just to kind of close up the episode, where have you been seeing, or where do you think people are going to be moving to going forward, given what the current trends have been? And then now with affordability, political climate, just everything. What do you foresee?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely think that there's two different tiers. I think like it's actually very interesting that you say that, because I think that some of the ones that have been like hot, like everybody's been moving to or talking about, and everybody that you know, or you know somebody that's moved there, are the places like Texas, Tennessee, Idaho. I'm trying to think. Those are the main three that comes to my mind. I just know so many people that moved
North
to Tennessee.
Carolina.
North Carolina as well. But Tennessee, I would say that's probably arguably a little bit more. But either way, all those are like the 3 or 4, several. But those are the ones that come to mind that are just repetitive. And so I think if you think about it, I think some of the states that are kind of in the shadows are the ones that are going to be the next one to come up. Like places like Kentucky, West Virginia, Missouri, Arkansas, all these places, but it's just they weren't as popular, we'll say, like the first go-to places. And then now people that can see the forest through the trees can say, hey, there's an opportunity there still waiting, that it's still in somewhat reasonable affordability, that you can still go there and achieve and get some sort of acreage and have a decent amount of still reasonable value, we'll say, for your money. And but on that note, I really do feel that the time is also ticking, meaning, there's going to come a point in time. I mean, there's only so many states, and there's going to come a point in time that even the most of affordable places, they're going to be swept up at some point. The person that has still not left, for example, New York, and that realizes that, things are not sustainable there and whatever it is, and he wants to leave his career or go back to the land and that type of thing. He may not have done it back in 2020. He may not have done it yet, but if he's going to do it in 2027, then there's still a lot of opportunity for people that are still massively populated in the cities that are going to jump to, and they're going to look for affordability. So if places like Idaho is now priced out, and they can, again, like I was saying earlier, can only get 2 acres, and they can get 10 to 20 acres in a place like Arkansas or Missouri or West Virginia. That's underneath the radar, we'll say, or like I said, in the shadows. But I do think the time is ticking. So I would argue that, you should be acting sooner rather than later, as far as just keep it in back of your mind that, I thought the market was going to crash in 2019, and, it never really crashed. So
prices just keep going up.
Just keep going up. So you don't know how long that's going to keep going, and you don't want to wait 10 years to try to hit the bottom of the market, and then you just wasted 10 years out of your life to try to get the property at a certain price point. It's like, listen, action sometimes is better than non-action. So I'm a big believer in that. And so it's like there's no perfect place, there's no perfect time, and you just have to sometimes just execute. So but I think some of those places are going to be the next hot spots. They already probably are. Prices are going up, honestly. Alabama's not as cheap as it once was. Oklahoma's not as cheap as it once was. Some of these places, but compared to where prices have doubled, tripled, and quadrupled,
they're still cheaper.
They're still more affordable.
Definitely. And just remember, some of the best places to have freedom in the United States, they're not the most exciting places, trendy, or most talked about. They're a lot of times they're the places that are that people overlook. Okay. So especially in today's environment with the cost of living and so much movement that's going on. So keep that in mind. I hope this has been helpful. Let us know down in the comments below, what are your guys' thoughts? Where do you live? How do you perceive where you live in terms of freedom and other places you're interested in? Yeah, absolutely. Please let us know in the comments kind of what your thoughts are, where you see the trends going, what your thoughts are on some of the most or more affordable places going forward, and just your commentary on it. We'd just love to hear from you guys. So it's always good to share ideas and just to see what boots on the ground is in different places of the U.S. and the world. So because there's a lot of states. So, absolutely. So until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. We hope to see you guys soon on the next one. And until then, we say bye-bye. Bye. Peace. Take care, everyone.
Take care.